look at these IF cans for a bit. Now I've already been in here and I've already did the measurements, but something I wanted to show you. Here's the one for the first IF. As you can see, it's two coils wound on a wooden dowel. All it is. It's pretty unique. The wooden dowel is notched to keep it from turning. But I don't want to damage these in any way, form or fashion, but I would like to do a little bit of cleaning and change these wires out for sure. So I wanted to do some documentation, okay? And so this is just an idea. You know, you can do it any way you want to, but I drew this out. This is the first IF. This is the primary. This is in the color code with the wires, the blue and the red. Should be about 93.5 ohms. Like I said, that's calculated, and this secondary is 41.5. So I checked them, and the actual was 87.4 ohms and 18.6 millihenries. That's just good to know in the future. The 41.5 secondary, which is L7. Keep a close watch on these numbers, L6 and L7. I'll show you something in a minute I found. Anyway, it was the secondary should be 41.5 ohms. It's actually 39.9 ohms with 4.8 millihenries, green and yellow wires. So we'll make sure that goes back originally. Now we'll go into this one. This is the second IF. If you'll notice, these are flip-flopped. The lower resistance is on the one side. They're identical, but they're backwards in the circuit from each other. They're opposites. They're bookends. But the blue and red wire on this side, notice the blue and red was on the 93 and L6, the 93, and then now this blue and red's on the 41. L8, L9. Keep close watch on that. So the actual was 45.2 ohms and it's 3.4 millihenries. Okay. The secondary is 93.5 according to the schematic. The actual was 91.4 with the 17.8 millihenries, green and yellow wire. I'm going to show you how these came apart, and it's pretty much just like a can. It screws off. Now I'm going to show you something. I want to be real careful with this. Do you see anything different with this one versus this one? Someone has rewound this one. Okay, someone has rewound this. So I'm not even going to breathe on this. I may end up retaping this. The tape has come up on this, and I want to make sure I get this tape back properly, and that it's I believe they've actually taken the original wires here and wound them here. So anyway, we'll look at that a little further. But I wanted to show you something that I found. Okay, on the schematic, you know, I told you these were opposite. The 93 was coming from the plate to the B plus. The B plus fed through this to the plate of the 24 tube, and then the secondary side of this is the 41, which is L7. It went to ground and it goes to the grid of the 35 tube. So now it's just the opposite on this side. You got L8 here and L9 here. So it's L6, L7, L8, L9. Now this side is 41.5 ohms. It feeds the B plus into the plate of the 35 tube through that. and then this goes to ground and comes up to the grid of the 27 tube. Okay, 4193. Okay, now I'll put a photo in the inset for this, but maybe you can see it with this. Looking at the diagram, it shows on the second IF, it shows L9 on this side and L8 on this side, and the L9 shows it to be 41 and a half. L9 is 93 and a half. On this one, it shows L8 is 93, L8 is 41. So I'm thinking this is wrong. The way it was wired is the way the schematic was, but this layout is wrong. So that's just something interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace these wires and clean these cans up a bit, not being real careful not to do anything onto the inside of this thing. I've rewired the IF cans. I'm going to show you I cleaned them up a little bit and rewired them, and trust me on this one. I've checked the wiring and the continuity and everything, and the inductance and everything on this about 3 or 4 times, make sure that I didn't mess it up. I wanted to show you now. I could have buffed on this and cleaned this up for hours and got it going, but I didn't see any need in it. It's clean, it looks okay, and it's under the bottom of a chassis. So, you know, unless somebody's going to see it when they tear it apart, and hopefully that's about another 80-something years from now. We'll see. No, I probably won't see. Alright, I wanted to show you the inside, what I end up doing to this this one. I took packing tape and I ran a long strip on each one of those wires, and then I took and cut another long piece, very narrow packing tape, and run it under and wrapped it around on each side to hold that down. So like I say, check that. I've checked the windings on these things again myself, so you see how these things screw on. And now one of the things when I go to adjust these is these screws are hot, so I've got to have an insulated tool. That's just a reminder to you guys out there that it may be, they may have one of these. But those turned out fairly nice, and we'll slowly put this thing back together once I get everything else squared away. I'm not going to go over the restuffing of these caps. I'm just going to, because they've already been restuffed, but I'm going to replace the capacitors in there. And I was curious of how the previous person did it. They got the lid off, the cap off. This may still be a little hot because I desoldered the negative side. But how they did that is they put that in there like that, and as you can see, they came out the top, and this had all the fins on it. And you see they tied it with string, and this is a 450, and it's a 4 microfarads, which that's what it called for. And I'll probably go in with a 4.5, possibly an 8, and the other one is an 8.
This one is an 8, and I may use a 10 on that. But I just wanted to show you how they did do that. And then you'll fish that back down in there like that. And drive it home, put it through there, put your nut on there, pull it out, and then get your big boy out and solder this right here, and then put the cap back on. Pretty slick. Also failed to mention that they put a terminal with a screw and a nut there to put the positive on there. That is pretty good. Somebody took their time, did that right. I should have added that the reason they put that eyelet on there was you can't solder to aluminum. So I used the modern version, the tie wrap. They used the string, which worked great, and I made sure that it will go fit in there. So now what I've got to do is fish it on down in there, and seems like he probably done a better job. But you know, I'd like to think that some of the work that I've done, that somebody will look at it one day and go, you know, that guy done a good job. That's all we can hope for, right? And that's fished in, and let's see if I can pull it down with this nut. Get a hold of it where I can pull it down with that nut. There we go. I just pulled it, and now I've got to come back and solder that. That'll be good to go. I put some heat shrink on that just to keep that from inadvertently touching the positive part, the ground itself. I put a little rosin on there. Let's see if I can get this bad boy hot enough. That copper is a pretty good heat sink, and it transfers it pretty quick too. Let me tell you. Hopefully you can see that. Wow, that is getting hot fast. It won't take me long to feel it. I want to make sure I get a good connection. That looks pretty good. Now I'll trim that little bit off. Really not necessary, but then I would put this on, but then you would laugh at me because I'd burn my hand. I'll put that on after I clean it up. I'll put the capacitor checker on there and make sure it's good to go. I hadn't planned on showing you both of these, but after I got in here, I realized that this one was done a little bit different, and I thought you may want to see it. Now that one just broke on me, which all that is a gasket, but they put a brass screw and the capacitor. They took the vanes and the center out of this and replaced it with just a large screw, and it's substantial enough that it just supports it there. I'm going to have to find another washer, which that shouldn't be any problem. Matter of fact, it's big enough that you could use a metal washer, and it wouldn't hurt at all, because that's an insulator there. But I thought I'd share that part with you. 2 cans, 2 different ways of doing it. So he may have destroyed the center one as he got it out, and then he drilled it out and put this screw in it. I don't know, but either way, they'll both work great. Here's the finished Mershon capacitors. I did put a little extra spit on this since it will be on top of the chassis, and this wire will go to one terminal of the speaker. So there's that. 4/0 steel wool and some Brasso. Cleans right up really good. I got my brown wire in today, along with the interstage transformer. There's the transformer. It's smaller than I thought it would be, but now I'm waiting on the output transformer, and I just got an email a second ago that it's being shipped from Antique Electronic Supply, so it'll be here. This is Tuesday. It'll be here before Friday, I would hope. But I got my brown wire, and so I rewired the heaters, or the filaments, and replaced all the other wires except on the transformer, and there's no clamshell. It just comes straight out of the windings. So I ended up heat shrinking some of those, so that'll be good enough, as long as they don't break on down and short out. That'll be fine. Still got, as you can see, these are the grids, comes around, but I took the coil out so that I could do all this without damaging it, and it's rewired also, and so waiting on this other transformer, and then we'll start putting it all back together. But I thought I'd give you an update on the wiring, let you see how it looks. I think it looks better. The wires were very, very brittle, very, very brittle. So let me get a light down there for you a little bit more. But yeah, they were very, very brittle, and so virtually every wire except on the power transformer has been replaced, and so did the usual stuff. Came in and opened the tone control and deauxed it, and it's pretty neat. Let's see if I can get it back open again. Ouch. This is pretty neat here. There we go. Look what I found in here. March 3rd, 1931. That's cool. Anyway, deaux that. One of the problems one of the tabs on the tone control here was broken off. Let's move one of those wires. Let's go into the speaker, and one of the tabs were broken off of the tone control. The center tap goes one place, and then the other side went to another place. So when that tab, it was already broken. It was just tacked to the stub there. So I just turned around and sorted it to the other side. So what if the tone control will be backwards? The treble will be clockwise and the bass will be counterclockwise, or vice versa. I don't know. So what's the difference? So it seems to be working okay as far as a potentiometer, or yeah, the potentiometer is. Now we'll see how it works in the circuit. Also went in and deauxed the volume control also. Cleaned the chassis somewhat underneath. It's not spit shined or anything like that, but rust is arrested and stabilized, and it's clean. And so hopefully we will be putting this thing back together by the end of this week. I've pulled the speaker out of the cabinet while I'm waiting on the rest of the parts, and remember the pieces that I needed to glue. I went ahead and glued those. So I've also, let's see if I can show you, I've cleaned it up with Gojo, and even though the finish is kind of rough, I'm debating whether or not, maybe you can see it, I'm debating whether or not to strip at least the finish off of it, putting some more lacquer on it. Now I've got some gouge marks here and here. I might be able to, I don't know if this is, I believe this is wood. I believe this is real wood here, so you can see the gouge. I don't know if I can get that out or not, and I don't want to feel it. It may just be a battle scar left. But I'm debating whether or not to put some Howard's Restore on it and leave it, because it is what it is. I don't know. Having to think on it. I took the escutcheon off. There were there's a place for 3 screws, and there was only 1 in it. I've located some more screws. They're brass, and I will have to age them somewhat, and we'll see what we can do with that. Let's see. Also pull the speaker, and I'll be doing some repairs on it. Let me get this off the table and I'll show you the speaker. I'll put a patch on this. You'll see these seams that we were talking about on the back side of this. These are overlapped, so there's not really a gap, it's just a stress point right there. So I don't think, other than putting a little bit of glue on this part right here, is going to really do anything. So I've got my handy dandy $1 for 20 something brushes, cheapo, disposable. I've got my Gorilla wood glue, about 1 part glue, 1 1/2, 2 parts water, mixed up really well. Got a coffee filter, and I learned this from Michael at Tube Sound. And what you want to do is you want to tear it. And maybe you can see. It's hard to focus with the but it leaves a frayed edge, and those little fibers add reinforcement with the glue, and that's the reason I learned that from Michael. And so it's not going to be that big a patch here, and I'm gonna just kind of tear something like this, and just kind of make a spike hairdo with it. Can you see it? I don't know. Well, it's hard to focus here. There you go. You can see the frayed edges. It almost looks like a cucklebird or something. But those little fibers will get glue on them, and we'll extend that out, and we'll reinforce that, and it'll be that much stronger. So we'll start out and I may put full strength glue on that particular part right there. Okay. You can hear what kind of sound this speaker would have made. And I feel like that this is a transitional radio to the super heterodynes. It's still got the older speakers, and I'm dipping this in my glue, and I'm just going to put that on there like that and bring it around, and this will dry clear. I may move it up just a tad, and remember, a tad is a scientific measurement, especially if your hand's in the way. But I don't know if you can see those fibers flaking out on me there. But you want a thin coat, and I may very well paint all this. Let me see if I can get a close. You can see the fibers as they spread out, and that's going to help that be stronger and stronger. It's a good tip, Michael. Thank you. I went ahead and I believe it's this section here. It was not cracked, but I went ahead and put a patch across there because of just the history of the stresses in those seams. And so I went ahead and I used full strength glue in the cracks themselves, and then I took some more that was watered down, but not hardly as much as I did initially, probably 1 and 1, and just went around the seam, right around the edges, to just kind of reinforce that particular part right there. Doesn't look like much, but that should keep it from cracking anymore, and I think we're just need to let this dry and not stick a finger through it. I think we'll be okay. Okay, the glue is dried, and as you can see that the patches are virtually, they've disappeared pretty much, but you can hear how tight this paper is. This is the way it was made originally. This is like the old Atwater Kents and all that, the real stiff cones, and so it didn't have a whole lot of response to it. But I want to thank all the new subscribers I've gotten this week, and all the comments. That's how we learn, and good feedback. I appreciate that. So I'm gonna wrap this up from the hills of Tennessee. This is Larry. Thanks for watching.